Peace, blessings, and enough love to everyone. Thank you all very much for joining on Passive Globally Changing Lives. And we are talking 1.4 million plus lives so far, and billions in the future. Thank you very much for joining this webinar on June 30, 2022. And so at this time, I just want to welcome all our lovely founders. And please remember, all of us are founders. There's no founders 1, founders 2, founders 3. No, there's no founders big or founders small. No, there's no chief founder or intermediate founder or low founder. No, we are all founders. And so I welcome you all to our founders meeting webinar, where all of us as founders have a voice. And so as we start our founders only meeting, then we are going to start with In It to Win It by our own favorite international singing artist. And of course, that is Lerato. And so without any further ado, it is In It to Win It.
True. Good morning, good afternoon.
Dr. Derek, you're muted.
Oh, mercy. My apologies. All right. Thank you very much, Lirato, Shadir. Thank you very much for that wonderful song, In It to Win It. And I am sure that, yes, we are all in it to win it. And so, without any further ado, we're going to be calling on our inspirational speaker. And of course, this evening, it is literally, as we have been doing over the past few weeks, it has been literally about the mindset. Because let's face it, if you have $1 million right now drop in your lap, what are you going to do with it? Right? Are you just going to spend it haphazardly? Because that's what most people do. If you have been to Dr. John seminars thus far, you know, people win lotto. 91% of people that win lotto don't have anything to show again. All right. They are worse off than they are before they won the lotto. So it's not just about getting the money. It's also having the right mindset that you need to have in order to manage the money. And so that is what we try to offer as much as possible on this webinar, is to have the right mindset in order to manage your money when you get it. Because Ashma Faris said over and over and over that the money is there to get. And we have come to fully understand that this is a 500 trillion with a T dollar business. And so, you know, we just want a little piece of that pie that is already out there. So with the physical, it is well taken care of. So therefore, the only thing we need to concentrate on is the mental. And so at this time, our own Jacqueline Warner, who has been a wonderful inspirational speaker, a lifestyle coach, have her lifestyle coach, have her own live show host, right? And also she is an entrepreneur. And so today it gives me great pleasure to welcome our inspirational speaker, Jacqueline L. Warner. Thank you.
Good evening to all. Thank you so much, Dr. Derek, for that awesome introduction. And welcome to all the founders, the leaders. Thank you so much. Appreciate. I hope every one day was awesome. And like Dr. Derek stated, my name is Jacqueline Warner. I am an entrepreneur also. I am mother, I'm a grandmother of 8. So, and I'm a founder, of this amazing company, ONPASSIVE. And tonight we're going to talk about mindset. And the reason we need to talk about mindset, because our minds need to be in the right place. Even though we use our mindset in very different aspects, in many different aspects of our lives, you know, when we decided to be parents, when we decided to go to school, when we decided to get a job, we had to put our mind in that mindset so we will be successful in what we do or whatever we pursue. So it's the same thing as being a business owner. We need to have our minds in the right mindset. You know, when I hear this question sometimes, what can we do now, today, and a year from now to improve our mindset? And we can do many things. We can read books like The Millionaire Next Door, or Grow and Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill. So we can read many books. We can associate ourselves around people that are going places or going in the same direction. People that will inspire you, people that will not let you, allow us anyway, to hide ourselves from the world. You know, you don't want people that are going to drag you down. If you're allowed to be dragged down, then you're not going to be in the right frame of mind. And you're going to be wishy-washy. You're going to be scared. You're going to be doubtful. You're not going to be sure, because you're going to allow yourself to be transformed into others' doubts and their fears. And, you know, they don't know anything. And you will know they don't know anything by just what you already know. And if they're not speaking on that same level, then of course, you know, they're not the person to tell you not to, or you shouldn't try this. So surround yourself around people that are going somewhere. You know, you can look for mentors. There's many of them online. Les Brown, Lisa Nichols, all these positive people who have started right where we started, from the bottom. And if they started from the bottom and got to the top, we can start from the bottom and get to the top too. But we must surround ourselves around people that are going somewhere. You can't be around people that's going to push you down and tell you can't do it. Then you're going to lose your way and your dreams also. You have to invest your time. So you can do that by learning some marketing tools, learning how to attract customers, learning how to market, learning how to empower oneself. You know, you also got to learn some empowering skills, you know, and build your confidence, build your self-esteem. All those things is changing your mindset. Reading books, like I talked about those 2 books. I read Think and Grow Rich. It was an amazing book, and it talked about all those, Thomas Edison, how he had so many failures, but he didn't give up. And yes, times might get a little rough and so forth, and we can't foretell the future, but when those things come our way, because we surround ourselves around people that's going somewhere, we could call on them. And they can encourage us and inspire us and let us know, hey, it's going to be okay. Of course, there's going to be obstacles, but you got to know how to face those obstacles. It's just like when you're raising kids, you don't know what they're going to do or what they're going to say and how they're going to turn out. But you hang in there with them and you teach them and you train them. Well, the same thing you have to do for yourself. We got to train ourselves. We got to train our mind. I remember this famous guy saying, just like we wash our hands, we got to wash our brain. We got to clean it out. You got to take out all the junk, and then you got to fill it up with all the positive stuff, you know? And there's so much positive stuff all over the media platforms, YouTube, wherever, whatever you want to learn. And now you have ONPASSIVE that have so much for us to learn already before we even get started. So we need to take advantage of all those articles. And, you know, some people say, oh, it's a lot of reading. It's the reading that is going to promote yourself, that is going to empower us to talk positive about these amazing products that we're going to share with others if we choose to. If you don't have to, but if you choose to, you have to equip yourself. You know, so stay with a positive mind. Don't let fear step in. Step on fear. Let fear be your elevator. Let it take you up and not take you down. Don't doubt yourself. Don't start saying, you know, I don't think I can do this. It's a little hard. Everything is not easy. Nothing is easy, actually. You know, raising your family is not easy. Getting up and going to work at 9 to 5 is not easy. Sometimes we don't even want to go there. And now we get an opportunity to actually have a real business. When I mean a real business, making real money we can't have, like Dr. Derek said, you can't get the money and just blow it. Remember, like Dr. John said, we want to build wealth. We want to build generational wealth for our families. You know, we want to help our communities. You know, you hear people saying, oh, we give back to the community. You want to do that too. Because when you're making that kind of money, you want to let it go out in many different areas. You know, you want to invest, you want to help this one. You, first of all, like Mr. Ash said, you got to help yourself first. And there where Dr. John came in and he gave us a lot about financial advice and tips, you know, that we could start investigating in. You know, we open our minds. Okay, so that's also a form of changing your mindset. And some of us mindset is going to change without us even realizing it, because, hey, we know we got to do this now. We got to look into how we're going to business name, check out our domain, learn about the products. This is amazing. You don't have to go anywhere or to look for the information. We're surrounded by an awesome family, people from all over the world, which is so amazing. You know, you're not having people who's talking negative on the platforms. It's all positive. We all are learning together. So let's learn together, let's grow together, and let's change our mindset together. Okay, so I thank you this evening for allowing me to speak on this amazing platform, our platform rather. And I thank you, Dr. Derek, also. And I thank all of you founders who loaned me your listening ear. Do have a beautiful evening, and thanks again.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Jacqueline Warner, CEO, data center owner. Thank you, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And without any further ado, we are just going to go right into the financial aspect of this readiness, because a lot of people ask, so now that the founder's position finish, what we to do? Work on your mind. That's what you're to do. And so Jackie just talked about the mindset. That's what you're to work on. Work on your mindset. If you don't start helping people, you don't have to have money to help people. You know, a lady, we are walking to a store, and I said, good morning to the cashier lady at the store. And I said, such a bright and lovely morning, that she looked at me and she said, how are you so happy? I said, because I am blessed. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to have money to be blessed. Just to be alive. Mm-hmm. is blessings. All right, just to be alive. So let us start to get that mindset that is more positive instead of negative. Definitely. And at this time also, we are going to, as you know, our financial advisor, he has his PhD and his MBA and all of those good stuff in pharmaceutical and biochemical engineer and all of those lovely stuff. But all of those did not suit him in corporate America. So he left all of that and went into financial advice, giving financial advice, not only to individuals, but also to business. So at this time, with 5 children under his belt, in his quiver, 5 children in his quiver, and a lovely wife to produce those 5 children. And we speak of none other than Dr. John. And we thank you very much. And we ask you for your full focus and listening ear to what he has to say this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Good evening, founders. And it's really a pleasure and honor and a blessing to be on this wonderful platform this evening. Sister Jacqueline, thank you for that inspirational speech that you just made. I think with what you said, really, we can just stop the meeting and set everyone off to go get some good books and read. But what I thought is that we'll continue the discussions that we've been having on really what I call financial readiness. I don't know whether this is part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever part number it is. Let's just take it as it is. And really, there will be some of the ideas here that some of you have seen over and over. Some of them, you will see the slides, maybe the thought process is a bit different, and I'm going to share it. And some of them will be repeated almost verbatim. My hope is that when you hear some of these things over and over, and then they will start to really make sense to some of us. Throughout this series, the first part of the whole discussion focused, as Dr. Derek said, now that the founder position is ended. Many people just say, okay, when are we going to launch? When are we going to launch? And it's like, launch what? Where have you been? You know, the train already left. So if you've launched it already and it's on its way, why are we asking ourselves when we're going to launch? The question that I normally ask people is, if we launch today, are you ready? If we launch today, do you know what to do? We spend time even educating some of our folks about how to be able to log into their virtual offices. We spend a lot of time helping some of our folks to just know that if you have a Gmail account and a Yahoo account, you don't sign in with the Yahoo account and go to Gmail to look for the one-time passcode. Those things we need to help each other, and we need to do them over and over and over. So my apologies to anybody who feels that some of the stuff that we'll be talking about, they know it, they've heard about it. Just spare a thought for those people who really need to hear it more than once in order for it to sink. So I had spent time, maybe 2 or 3 sessions, and talked about this preparation, making sure that the profiles are updated. We heard from our CEO that at some point they may actually insert a space for a second owner. That way, if you have somebody that you want to be a contingent owner of your account, you can actually put their names there, because again, why is this important? There are lots of us, and I've talked to a lot of people who, one lady I spoke to actually got into ONPASSIVE in 2019. And the only question is, oh, they've been talking about launching ever since. When are they going to launch? And then I said, do you really know what you signed up for? And many of them know that they bought stock in some company that's about to be launched. So the mindset that they have is that, well, when this company launches, you know, it's just going to be like a Microsoft or an IBM. Somebody somewhere is going to do their magic, and then they'll have a dividend. And all they need is maybe a dividend check coming to their home or somehow. And a lot of people are surprised when I tell them that, no, this is actually a business. Consider it as a franchise that you need to run. So we need to get the right information into the system, because if they cannot authenticate that it is you, I don't think you want to lose this billion-dollar business. So we also talked about what will happen once they launch, activating our accounts. I think we all understand from our CEO that once we launch, we would be expected to activate our accounts. The figure has not been defined. We know it's going to be something less than $300 per account. And please, it's not $300 if you have 50 accounts. It's $300 per account. And if you are going to actually get your account activated, and then some of us need to start really looking for that $300 US and setting it aside. Mr. Mufari has told us over and over that there's some instances where if somebody is not able to activate their account, they will leave it in a form that you can go in there, access some of the freebies, or maybe send out emails to people. And if you can market it and get like 3 subscriptions by yourself, then you can self-activate the account. We talked about the idea of having a business name. This is your business. We'll talk about this over and over because most of us coming into this platform, we are employees. We work for somebody, we work and they pay us. Now, we are going to be the people that are on the other side that own the business, and at some point, somebody may have to work for you. So we need to be able to switch our minds from the employee to employer or business owner. Some of the basic things might just mean knowing how to be able to go to your virtual office, do your statistics and see how your business is performing, be able to provide a business name for your company. Thankfully, ONPASSIVE is going to give us a default, but if you already have some business that you want to name that you want to use, it's worth thinking about those. And then we had talked about the KYC and safeguarding these accounts. I think last time I talked about some best practices, like make sure that you have, whether it's on a spreadsheet or you write it somewhere, you have your email, the day that you joined ONPASSIVE, your ID number, your login email, password. Maybe you can add the email account, the password of the email that you use to log into that account. I cannot overstress it that make sure that you have a hard copy, print it, keep it somewhere, download it on a flash drive, keep it safe, and maybe store it on store a copy in an electronic format. But whatever you need to do, make sure you safeguard your account. For those who were fortunate enough to attend the Dream Team webinar last Saturday, one of our sisters, Sister Benny, actually talked about password security and some things to bear in mind. Those are some of the readiness things, because the worst thing that will happen is you have money in your account and someone else is actually helping themselves to it. Talking about founders, this is something which I just want to touch on very briefly. Each and every one of us here is blessed to be a founder in ONPASSIVE. But as a founder, we need to really understand who we are and what are some of our key roles as founders. First and foremost, you are a founder, which means you are helping found ONPASSIVE. That's when we do all the beta testing, when we submit wrinkles to the tech team for them to correct some things, when we go play around with some of the products, we are helping to iron out any kinks and make sure that we go to the market in a perfect state with the products that we are going to actually launch. At the same time, we are going to be resellers. What that means is when you get your website, I guess there's going to be like a button there that somebody can click, and that person becomes a reseller. They register, they'll pay a fee, and then they'll get their own duplicated website, which AI will be able to drive traffic to them, and they'll be like a wholesaler for your business. We are resellers, and the other thing that we can do is you can literally send out your website to somebody and say, hey, I'm using these products, check out this website. And they'll check out the website. They like something there, they're gonna subscribe. And when they subscribe either as a reseller or they subscribe as a direct customer, you will get a commission from that sale or along with any commissions that you get if AI drives the traffic directly to your website. And then a third role that we are going to play as founders is that we're going to be customers. The activation fee that you're going to have, I mean, what a tremendous benefit. is going to allow you to benefit as a founder, which means you share in the profits of ONPASSIVE. You'll be able to get commissions as a reseller, and you'll be able to use these beautiful products for yourself. Let's look at something like the Zoom that we're using for this webinar. It costs anything between $50 and $100 a month, depending on how much capacity you want to have for your Zoom. Think about now having access to your O Connect, which is not only really fabulous with all the technology that has been built in, but it's also going to allow you to use it for your own purpose and not have to pay any extra. That is where that customer role comes in, because we're going to benefit from these products. We're going to be able to sell some of them to get a certain amount of commission. Or as a founder, even if we don't sell through our own websites personally, the very fact that we helped found this company, we will be able to share in the profits of ONPASSIVE. What a tremendous opportunity that we have in our hands. The first two options, as I mentioned, whether you're a founder or you're a reseller, they're going to be generating money for us in our business. And the one thing that we need to do is that this money, as Ash has said over and over, is going to come, is going to change our lives. And this is where we need to really get ourselves prepared to receive this money and let it do what it is that we're dreaming of doing now and helping humanity. Let it not be something that is going to actually hurt us. So what this means in a nutshell is that right now, we all, or most of us, just about to talk about the fact that we on the left-hand side, most of us are on the left-hand side, where we literally either use our physical strength, our brains, or our time to gain money. We rely on someone to hire us. We rely on the person to promote us. They basically control our times and our future. The beauty of it is that at the end of our pay cycle, whether it's a month, a week, or how frequently you're paid, you get a paycheck. That is very, very convenient. And that income that we get is called active income, because if you don't show up, you don't get anything. Even the self-employed, they have the added responsibility of owning the jobs that they work on. And bottom line, they still trade time for money. Maybe those are kind of close to business people in a way, because sometimes you would have more money for 1 month. You may not have enough money the next month, depending on the contract you end up with, you will have a lot more money. That said, the common characteristic of this left-hand side is the idea that we are having active income. Then we come to ONPASSIVE. Now, you do not know whether at the end of the first day you're going to make $1,000, $100, $50 or so. But the beauty of the system is that you are actually leveraging a system to generate income for you. We can actually generate that income in a passive manner. And we know that once your account is activated, we will end up in a situation where AI will be driving traffic to our website, and it's got that potential, and we have been assured it's not just a potential but a given that we will have financial freedom. The financial freedom obviously comes with some responsibilities, and that's where our mindsets need to be prepared for that. And the last quadrant is that where we all also want to be, which is make sure that whatever money we have, we make it to be generating wealth for us. We want that money to be working and generating more money for us while we sleep or you're on vacation or whatever. Even when we're gone, we want to make sure that if you had set up a charity or you have children, great-grandchildren, Just think about the Rockefellers, think about the Mellons, think about all these wealthy people that have created generational wealth. This is what we want to take advantage of this opportunity and do. Again, we talked about this idea of, yes, when we get the money, it needs to be able to cover some basic needs. We talked on this slide so many times. I like it. I'm going to share it again. And I just say, for those of us who I call the poor mainly because of our mindset, and it could also be poor that we're not making a lot of money, we typically rely on our jobs. So we traditionally on that left quadrant. And then when that job gives us an income, we take that income, we spend it to pay our bills. Most of the time, the money is not enough. So it's gone before the next pay cycle is up. And then what we do is anything that we need to buy, you know, any excess that is left, we sort of just buy some stuff that really we're trying to maintain some type of living, which could sometimes be artificial. But the bottom line is the money is gone and we need to go back to work. Those of us who are like in the middle class have a lot more money, but again, we are on the active income side of things. We're relying on a job. The job gives us an income, which we use for our expenses. There is some money left, and that money typically we use it to just buy some toys. And these are assets, in most cases, not assets, but liabilities that are of depreciating value. And at the end of the day, that money runs out, we go back to our jobs, and then we keep repeating the same cycle over and over and over. And that's what we call the rat race. We have all been running the rat race, but this tremendous opportunity now has given us the chance to be able to break through or break out if we do what is right. And what I mean here is, let's start, our sister Jacqueline talked about reading books, expanding our minds, changing our mindsets. But one thing that you need to realize is that most of the real wealthy people, either because they own businesses, which are tremendous assets for them, or because they have money that is generating money for them, they don't really rely on the job, but they rely on those assets to generate the income that they need. So we have, by virtue of just this $97, been given a tremendous asset. And I was listening today, Ash just saying, all that we need to do is get engaged, come closer to understand what ONPASSIVE really is. It is not just a matter of, I have a code, I am a founder, but the more you get to actually understand and use it, then it will become a tremendous asset for us. By understanding and using it, what happens is that the asset itself, now it will generate for us an income. That income, some of us will use it, you know, to pay for our expenses. We have to be careful. And then, yes, we're gonna have some liabilities. We need some of those toys that we need to play around with. But the bottom line is, once, if we are disciplined, then we want to bring the rest of the money in back to grow our assets. And when we grow those assets, then we begin to actually have more and more assets, which that's the beginning of creating a generational wealth for us. So I know in most cases, we talked about using the money that comes in to actually start filling our tank, dig ourselves out of debt, and then start doing other things. I was just like this afternoon, I think my wife was talking with one of the founders, and this person, I can say they're getting their mindset in the right place now, because he's saying, you know what, instead of getting this money and you just go spend, maybe the good idea would be go and invest that money right up front, and then let that money start generating some income for you. And you take that income and use it for your lifestyle and create your liabilities, which literally the idea here is, let's not get the very first idea, the very first few dollars and run out and start taking care of some of these upgraded expenses. Let's even see how we can grow this asset base now so as to be able to generate a lot more income. That is a good thought, that if we start thinking about it, then maybe the first thing that we're not going to do is go out there and buy some Ferraris or Lamborghinis. We may actually need to start investing that money, take a breather, and then let that money be at such a point that when it starts to really generate serious wealth, you can do whatever you want to do. I shared last time with you some common characteristics between people on the left-hand side and people on the right-hand side and how they are different. So if you look on the left-hand side, as to say, we're relying on active income. So we're getting our money from our jobs. We typically do not have diversified portfolios, either because we don't have enough savings or because we do not know any better, and therefore we just go along with the masses. We do not actually know how to take advantage of tax deductions, and therefore, as a percentage of our income, we pay more in taxes than the people on the right-hand side. And most of the time, it's due to the fact that we do not have that financial literacy to be able to do what is right. When it comes to when do you plan to retire, most of us will just think about, okay, the government says retirement is 65 or 67 or whatever, therefore that's when I'm going to retire. But if you look on the right-hand side, you realize that the people in that area own businesses and cash generating assets. They tend to have hugely diversified portfolios. They understand how money works and the power of leverage of either their money or even financial professionals to be able to do things for them. And many of us on this platform, we're just dreaming of when things start flowing so that we can retire. We're not waiting to hit a certain age before we can retire. When it comes to paying taxes, there are tools and vehicles that can help us to pay our own fair share of taxes. This deep dive today, I'm going to actually throw some ideas that as business owners, we are all CEOs, at least of owners of data centers. We're gonna soon be CEOs of, who are owners of not O-Founders, but O-Connect and O-Academy. So once those ones come and we own the business and this business has these assets that are generating cash, we would be able to have diversified portfolios. So when I talked in the previous page about going out there and putting some investment, I'm not saying that you'll be able to go back buy some more equity in ONPASSIVE, because that's not possible. But you should be able to put in place another set of assets. What if you're able to go buy a 100-unit rental property that will be generating your income? Now you have two sources of income, your own passive income, you have your investment income, and then you can do what you want to do with the money. The other thing that I touched on was just the fact that whether the people make $1,000 or $10,000, those that have the right mindset and operate on the right-hand side of this quadrant, they rearrange their financial pie in such a way that they end up saving a lot more. You can see on this side here, there's like 25%, almost a quarter of the income is being saved, and comparing to about 5% that is saved here. Most of us on this left-hand side, we tend to have a lot of debt. Some of it is really bad debt. And what I want to encourage us is, yes, I'm not saying debt is bad. I'm saying that you can actually have good debt. So if you were to have, let's say, some real estate which you have leverage and you're using other people's money, yes, you have debts, but those are good debts. And I touched on the idea of taxes again. I'm going to just touch on them today and throw a few ideas. Some of them may not apply to everyone on this platform because, again, I might be speaking more from a baseline of what is happening in the US, but my hope is that by getting some of the concepts, you will be able to talk to the right people in your own area and they can help you. So why are we focusing on this a lot? Because what we want to do again is to avoid the mistakes that others have done when they have received large sums of money without being mentally prepared already. The last couple of sessions, I shared some of these lottery winners. I don't intend to actually spend so much time on them anymore here, but I just want to let you know, you can see here somebody winning a multiple lottery that literally was $113 million. And within 7 years, that person literally had lost all the money. And as Dr. Derek said, less than 9% of people who actually come across large sums of money end up successful. Our hope here is that each and every one of us, when we come across the opportunity and the money that ONPASSIVE is going to give us, let's all be successful, 100%. Let's leave nobody behind. It's not only lottery winners as we saw. We know that most of the young kids or even not so young who get into athletics or sports and make a lot of money because they do not have the right level of either support, or they don't associate themselves with the right people, or they don't have the right preparation. They end up making the same mistakes, and shortly after the end of multi-million-dollar contracts, these individuals, they go broke. So what are some of the ideas that we had talked about in the previous deep dives? We stressed the idea of being financially literate. We're not saying that you become an expert in whatever that financial area is, but we just need you to have some good awareness of how money works. Why? Because if you then hire a professional, you don't want that person to come and lecture to you. You want an individual that is going to have a very good conversation with you about how money works, about what are some of the options you're trying to consider for your investments and so on. And then we want to also make sure that we have that financial discipline, the discipline to be able to plan, the discipline to be able to budget, the discipline to be able to manage our debts and get out of the financial holes that we are in. We talked about some of those tools earlier. This is what makes a difference between the wealthy and the not so wealthy. It is just the lack of discipline, because as we showed previously, it comes down to not just how much you make, but how you're able to manage that which you make and what you're able to keep. That makes the difference. And then we want to make sure that we all are moving towards financial freedom. And on the point of financial freedom, as you learn about how money works, it's also good to know that there are some tools and financial vehicles out there that the wealthy use to build wealth and minimize their taxes. Again, please, please, please don't ever go out there trying to evade taxes, because that's the fastest way that you're going to end up losing the opportunity to enjoy what ONPASSIVE has to give us. You need to be able to look at how to, if legally, pay your own fair share of taxes. And as we talked about it, we want not only to do whatever we're doing for this generation or for ourselves, but we need to be able to build wealth that can be sustained and transferred to the future generations. Where would you do that? We talked about our financial institutions. Our financial institutions are not there for you. They are businesses out to make money. They want our money. They want it on a regular basis. They want to hold on to it for as long as possible. And they want to make sure that when it comes to a point that you need the money, then they want to give it back in little trickles. Why? Because they can actually keep that money as long as possible and make what I called the rule of 72 work for you. What I mean here, just as an illustration, just imagine, this is you here, you have your lovely bank down the street. What happens is that you put your money in the bank. Maybe the bank loves you so much. I know the interest rates have gone up a bit, but the bank may actually pay you less than 1%. And we love it. When they pay you less than 1%, guess what they do? They turn around, we take whatever little pennies they give us, we spend, but then the banks are laughing all the way to the bank, so to speak, because they could essentially leverage our money multiple magnitudes of time. For who? For themselves. Now, if we do not have the financial education, understand how money works, understand how the rule of 72 works, then these financial institutions are going to continuously live off us, and we will not be able to build any financial freedom for ourselves. So what I want us to start thinking is that I want you to use your bank as a vehicle, not as it, but use it as a vehicle to connect yourself to this third party and leverage your money for you and not for the bank or anybody. If we can do this, if we can learn the concepts that will enable us to do this, then whatever project you're dreaming of, whatever thing you want to do in your family or your community, we will be able to succeed. I shared some of these concepts, and I really want to, I'm really so proud that some of us have been listening to it, what I've been saying. They've been taking it to heart, and some have really been reading and trying to move way ahead of the rest of us as far as this financial readiness is concerned. I had one of our sisters who had asked a question during one of the deep dives. That's Miss Kyrie Young. I think she's on. And we met offline afterwards and just discussed some basic ideas. And I was so impressed about the level of her level of, curiosity and how much she's reading about different financial tools and different financial vehicles. I think what's going to happen, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, when we have the next opportunity to have this discussion, I'm going to pull Kyrie because I think she has some real tremendous insight that we can benefit from. She did actually send me an article earlier this week, which is titled 10 Ways Billionaires Avoid Paying Taxes on an Epic Scale. I've been reading through the articles that are in that write-up, and some of them, while I already am aware of the concepts, some of them are really mind-blowing when you look at the statistics. For example, would you actually, if you saw these 3 names or 4 names here, these guys make their wealth grew by billions with a B of dollars in a year. They generated the second column, this column here. Let me get it up and we can talk. This column here is talking about, oops, try again. This column here is talking about what these guys reported as their income and what they paid as taxes on this income. As a percentage of that income or wealth, these are the percentages that these individuals paid for taxes. And obviously, if you see somebody that paid taxes of $292 million in a year, you say, oh, absolutely, they paid a lot of taxes. But if you're paying that off an income of billions of dollars, then just prorate it to our incomes that we are making and see how much the average us pays in taxes. These people are not doing anything illegal. They just understand how money works. They understand what I call here asset location, not asset allocation. I'm talking of asset location. What do I mean by that? If you can put, what it boils down to is that where you end up putting your assets could make a big difference between being severely taxed or not being taxed. And if these people have learned how to be able to position their assets in a location where they can put those assets to work, they generate income for them that is not going to be taxable based on the existing tax codes, they are way ahead of the game. That is where we need to start expanding our minds into. Those are the areas that I want us to be considering. And some of the things they do is really make sure that they balance their portfolio between those that are taxable. So the taxman is going to take some. Those that are tax deferred, they want to just defer those taxes and pay them at some future time that they would be able to get the best deal. And they put a lot of money into what I call the tax advantage vehicles. Why I'm sharing all of this is because I want us to know that even though I don't care what country you are in, that the tax code specifies certain things, when we start peeling the onion, you realize that it actually has a lot of advantages in being a business owner that we are. And I want us to be able to dig in and find out what those are. I used to make a joke to some of my brothers, and I said that most of us, when they want to make sure that we don't get information, they put it in a book. Here in the United States, there is a section of the Inland Revenue Code, which is around section 400. So that 400 section has a 401 section, 401k. It has a 403 section in there. It has a 457 section in there. Guess what? A majority of the people put their retirement monies in this area because that's the first sections of the Inland Revenue that really deals with all these retirement plan taxations and all that stuff. At the same time, inside the same tax code, there is a section of that our Internal Revenue Code in the United States called section 7702. Okay, let's assume that each section is a page of a book. You know, the laws are written and they can be thick. Most of us, if we ever make it to section 457, we've killed it. But guess where all the juices are? They're buried in the 7702 area of the Inland Revenue Code. So what I'm saying here is, don't stop reading. Don't stop being curious. Don't stop asking questions. And just to show you how that 7702 section works, I know this is primarily for the United States, but I do know that for other areas, and I'll touch on this a bit. I was reading this book, Tony Robbins. It says, Money, Master the Game, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom. And in chapter 5.5, the title actually says the secrets the ultra wealthy that you can use too. So this guy wrote a book. The book is kind of thick, but it tells us about the secrets of ultra wealthy that we can use for ourselves. And I just want to, again, I want you to understand the concept. It may not directly apply to you, but we'll touch on it again, as I said. So in early 2014, the Guinness Book of Records announced that a new world record had been established. No, it was not the tallest man in the world or the world's longest fingernails. It was a record that went largely unnoticed. A mystery billionaire buys a record-breaking $201 million life insurance policy. Pause there. And you start thinking that when we talk to ourselves and we say, oh, life insurance, the first thing that I start thinking is, hang on, I'm going to buy this dumb thing. I'm going to die and my family are going to be celebrating when I'm gone. And he says, why in the world would a billionaire buy that? Wouldn't their kids just be fine if he passes away prematurely, or was the media missing the point? Believe it or not, the ultra wealthy do buy astronomical amounts of life insurance, but it's not only the billionaires who buy it. The biggest buyers are banks and largest corporations, from Walmart to Wells Fargo. As an example, Wells Fargo's balance sheet showed 18.7 billion of its tier 1 capital in life insurance. That was of 2014. The number is higher. By the way, if for those of you who are finance people, the tier 1 capital is really a measure of the bank's financial strength. So the question is, are the banks looking to benefit? Are the banks going to die also? And in bold, it said what they really want is a place to park their cash in an IRS-sanctioned vehicle that allows them to grow their investments tax-free. Sounds too good to be true. It's like a Roth IRA. That's another vehicle for us in the US. You pay taxes when you earn money, you deposit your after-tax within that specific type of product. And our Inland Revenue Service said if you structure it correctly, you're not required to pay taxes as it grows. No pay taxes when you pull out the money. So while it is life insurance, it's designed to benefit you while you are alive. This was done in 2014, and over the years, they actually found out who this mystery billionaire is. It happens to be Mr. Elon Musk, who was the founder of PayPal. He sold PayPal to eBay. He took almost $93 million, and he put most of that money in a $201 million life insurance. I dread to think how much that has grown today. But more importantly, by doing that, he instantly created an estate of $201 million for himself that he could literally use as leverage to get financing for his other businesses. Now, when we start talking about people who are outside of the United States, this may not really resonate with you, but there are some countries that even if you are not a US citizen, you may be able to actually benefit from some of these tools. The other thing that I want to focus on is once we start taking the money, we want to start thinking of where do we put it? I just told you your bank should just be a vehicle to convey that money from your ONPASSIVE wallet to where you want to actually have it working for you. There are some vehicles that have for time proven to be very useful. One of them is real estate. I don't care which country you live in, if you get the right real estate in the right location, it would always be profitable for you in the long run. Oil business, I can say skip on that for now because one, there's a lot of politics involved in it and we don't know where this is going anyway. And then where have some of those billionaires been able to put their money? Still in the real estate area. We know a lot of people who own sports teams and sports complexes. Guess what? These people, they are very, very, very rich. But at the end of the day, most of them are able to completely write off their business expenses, including the huge salaries that they pay to these athletes as expenses. And some of them actually end up with negative amounts of money that they will probably qualify for benefits that me and you are not able to qualify for. Again, think outside the box because that's where the money would be made. That's where the generational wealth would be created. Last time I talked about where to also consider putting your money so that that money is taxed efficiently, or you can transfer it as part of a legacy without actually paying a lot of taxes on them. I talked about some things that in the US is called irreversible life insurance trust or generation skipping trust. These are very controversial vehicles because in Congress, there's a lot of fight as to, is it preferentially benefiting the rich and are the middle class and poor people losing out? Guess what? Me and you, we can actually, did I lose out again?
No, you're still here. You're still with us.
But it seems like I lost the screen sharing.
No, we can see your screen, but you just have to scroll down.
This is really okay.
It's Zoom for you.
Oh, wait.
Okay, so let me just. So what I was saying is that this trust and some of the vehicles that are available outside of the US, in the US, you all just need to get in touch with the right professional that can help you. But the generational skipping trust, those are kind of interesting in the sense that instead of creating this wealth and maybe gifting it to your child who could also be an ONPASSIVE, and they have a lot of taxes, you skip and actually give it to the next generation, and the tax implications would be different. Then the one that I really want us to focus on here is this idea of, my screen is frozen again. Oh my God. Try again. Okay, this idea of business expenses. You would be glad to know that you are in a very good place as a founder of ONPASSIVE. At the end of every year, ONPASSIVE is going to issue each and every one of us founders a 1099. The 1099 basically tells your tax authority that ONPASSIVE, paid Dr. Derek $1 million of income. Right now, just remember, once we subscribe, do our first month out of pocket, you're gonna get an invoice, just like you got an invoice for your $102. In addition to that, on a monthly basis, we're gonna be paying that subscription, although it'll be coming off our profits. So at the end of the year, you're gonna get an invoice that said, these were your subscriptions that you made for ONPASSIVE. Make sure you have proper record keeping, because you can use some of those to offset your income, and then it would drive down the taxes. But now, think of it now as a CEO of your own business. You're gonna need to have an office, and I would say get a good office. The office, the furniture in the office, the rents that you pay for that office, they're all business expenses. If I would even advise, maybe you don't even need to have that office in your home. You may want to have it in a nice place where you can leave home, go relax, make a few phone calls, go into your virtual office, check your business. If you hire some people to work for you, those staff costs become expenses for your business. Sometimes, as long as, even if the kids that are helping photocopy, as long as you properly have a schedule for them that they're working and you pay them an amount that is reasonable, you don't want to pay a photocopier hundreds of thousands of dollars, that becomes a business expense. I remember sometimes Ash did tell us that we should buy for ourselves some nice computers so that we can see the ONPASSIVE website and its products in really crisp color. Again, invest in some state-of-art equipment which befits your business. If you have to get a cell phone for your business, that is a business expense. In the United States here, things like capital equipment, it can actually, depending on whether you want to deduct it as a depreciating asset over time or use what they call the Section 162 of our Internal Revenue Code, sometimes they could allow you to write off almost all that equipment in year number one. So I want each and every one of us to start thinking as a business owner. You have a fax machine, you have a photocopier, you have a printer, the papers, just make sure that you are keeping a proper records. Business travel. This is another very interesting thing that I should just say, shh, but let me say it. Let's say that I decided with my wife and my kids who are also ONPASSIVE people, and I said, okay, we're gonna travel to Jamaica and we're gonna just spend like a weekend there. I could call Miss Rose Brave and say, hey, Rose, why don't we just have like an ONPASSIVE, webinar seminar in a hotel somewhere? Call a few of you guys, you fly from your different places, you fly to Jamaica, we all have like a nice time. We organize a conference, maybe we all chip $100 or $200, get a nice conference center, hold a meeting, discuss how to grow ourselves in ONPASSIVE. Okay, when the conference is over, it doesn't stop you from going out and enjoying the nice beaches. And then you could actually have entertainment, which is part of that business trip. And as long as you have a valid business reason for that travel, guess what? At least as far as the US is concerned, that can be considered a business trip because I went out there, I did business. I stayed in a hotel. Maybe they will not completely reimburse the amount of money I spent for my food, but I can absolutely write off my air ticket for both me and my family. Since we are all members of ONPASSIVE, I can write off any contributions that I made towards that haul. So as a business owner, now when you start thinking in terms of business, make sure that you're doing everything according to the law. Make sure that you keep a proper accounting of your expenses. And then you would see that at the end of the year, you probably would have, maybe I would have visited each and every one of you in your different locations, and we would have had some ONPASSIVE business discussions, and those trips were nicely covered by ONPASSIVE. I would even take it a step and say, depending on how you structure your company, which is why we kept talking about companies, you may actually have a situation where instead of going out there and buying yourself that nice car, why doesn't the business buy your car for you? Think about it. So there are a lot of things, a lot of advantages that we can actually take as a business owners. But if you're not engaged, if you are not actually following up what is going on and taking advantage of all of these things, when the tax man come and say, hey, where did you go? I say, oh, I actually didn't go anywhere. So I just got this 1099 from this company ONPASSIVE, and I don't really have any expenses for it. You're going to pay some decent amount of tax. I mentioned US taxes a couple of times, and I need to just, before I end here, just talk about the non-US citizens. It doesn't necessarily mean that some of the things I have talked for the US do not necessarily apply to you. So as a foreign national in the US, somebody who does not permanently reside in the US, but who has assets in the US, there are some tax benefits that you can have. Or some of them are limited, but if you have, like, your children came here for studies and they became citizens or permanent residents, they could end up actually helping you with some of your assets transfer. But if you do not do proper planning ahead of time, then any assets or estates that you have in the United States here could end up costing you a lot, because as a non-US resident, the government will allow you to shelter only $60,000 of US assets from federal taxes. Excuse me, I talked about federal taxes because state taxes are different. Some states have taxes, some states do not have taxes. So if somebody has assets that are more than 60,000, the government typically allows you like a 9-month period from the time the person passes to pay all the taxes. So if that person is not able to pay those taxes in time, then you will be forced to do a fire sale on those assets to pay the taxes, because you cannot postpone taxes when it comes to Uncle Sam. Therefore, we need to, one, think ahead and also look at some other vehicles that could be used for that purpose. I showed you the slide that I read about this mystery billionaire buying amount of life insurance. If you are outside of the US, in some countries, you can actually qualify to have a life insurance in the United States. but there are some criteria. One of them is where you are considered a high net worth foreign national, which means you have more than $1 million worth of assets. And when it comes to that, if you have those assets, then you may be able to apply for some of these products in the United States without necessarily being a United States citizen, provided your country of residence falls in the what they call the codes A to C countries. At a very high level, I'll say many of the countries in the Caribbean islands, they fall in either B or C. A lot of the African countries are D or E. So right now, I would say no for that. But if you end up being the millionaire that has about $1 million of investable assets, you can always find you're ready to invest in some areas in the US where it will create employment. They are actually getting some green cards or so that they can offer to people for that purpose. Unfortunately, or fortunately, not everybody qualifies even if they meet the criteria of those countries. So we have excluded occupations. Thank God our politicians and government employees typically are excluded because all our money would go away to these people in these products, not that they don't do it. Judges, public or private, police, military, trade unionists, journalists, missionaries, private pilots. So basically, if you are somebody who is doing a business, you're a technical or a professional or an executive in some business, and you actually fall into the category of countries that can be that can benefit, then you could actually use some of these vehicles to build wealth even in the US. Even if you are not a US citizen. Again, the bottom line is talk to the right person, make sure that they do they do the due diligence from a legal and a business point, and you are actually doing what is right. Again, I think we talked about this last time, the idea of it's no good building up these assets and then at the end of the day, they end up being taken away from you by Uncle Sam or any tax person from where you are, or you don't actually end up leaving them for those charities or the generations you want to do. So planning for your legacy is something that we need to expand our minds. We need to be thinking about, we need to learn about, talk to tax and CPA professionals in your country to make sure that there are some of the key things we can do. For those who are in the United States, they have what they call the gift exemption, which basically says over your lifetime, you can gift away up to $11.7 million to any person you choose without it actually affecting your overall estate. Unfortunately, this 11.7 million per person ends in 2025, December 31st, and it drops to 5 million, but that is still a huge amount of money that you could give somebody, the only limitation being that each individual can only have up to $15,000 a year, although just like with any law, I can choose today that I'm going to gift somebody like $150,000, and I actually write it that this is a gift for the next 10 years. Somehow those are allowed. And then I talked about the life insurance, the irreversible life insurance trust that we can use to generate multi-generational wealth. Last time we talked about thinking of possibilities of offshore incorporation, but the key reminder here is please, please, please do nothing. Do absolutely nothing now until when you need it, and then you can do it at that time. For the non-US citizens, I talked about getting that green card, or they call it employment-based green card entry or EB5 program if you have over $800,000 of investable assets. And then for people who have like families in the US, if you plan ahead and you make sure that you structure it well, you can actually have control of those assets while you are alive. And the day that you close your eyes, those assets automatically switch over to somebody who is a US citizen, and they will not trigger some of the real punishing taxes that are set aside for foreign nationals. And then I talked about the life insurance. Closing remark, I'll repeat it over and over. Use this information as a basis of your research and discussions. Do nothing. And when it is time, whatever that time is for you, make sure that you engage somebody. Thank God there will be money that you can pay those individuals to actually help you structure it in the right way. But if you, the more knowledge that you are able to acquire now for yourself, the better that discussion or interaction with that individual will be. You don't want to sit down with somebody and they literally speaking like Greek to you, and that was the only language that you never understood. With that, I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop. I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Derek. I guess a few people have some questions. I do not know if I'll be able to answer all of them, but I'm going to give it a shot. Whatever you do, please let us just go ahead and expand our minds. Let's go ahead and really try to change our mindset so that this money, when it comes to us, does not surprise us and we repeat all mistakes. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, 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 awesome. Thank you very much, Sir Dr. John. That was wonderful. Have mercy. It seems as if the more you do it is the more information there is, because this was a totally new presentation. So I hope you have some more reserve for next week, because mercy, what a presentation. Mercy. All right.